Start talking in 5 seconds.
It's a Saturday morning, November 15th, 2003. Bright sunshine belies the weather that we've had here in the North Country in the last couple of days. Today is really quite nice for a fall day. Our cameras are showing over my shoulder what used to be the illustrious and glorious land of make-believe. A familiar stop for so many people who are now in their 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, and a few 20s here in Upper J, New York. Why are we here today? We're here to give you a snapshot of the last 90 years, because on November 15th, in the year 1913, if my math is correct, a little guy was born that was to have a great impact on this part of the world and on other parts of the world too. And his name is Arto Monaco. You're right. We've featured him many times on our program, and hopefully we'll do it many times in the future. It's Arto's 90th birthday, and we heard about it, as we hear about a lot of things, because we keep our ear to the road. And Calvin said they're having a celebration in Upper J at the Wells Memorial Library. It's an award-winning library. They put a nice new addition on it, which is consistent with the Adirondack architecture that you see here. And it's a familiar place to many people who live in Upper J and the surrounding country. We're going to show you a wonderful cake that was just brought here about 15 minutes ago, as we're beginning to tape this before 12:30 on November 15th. A cake in the actual likeness of the castle at the land of make-believe. I probably will not have a piece of it because I'm on that diet that you've heard so much about, but I'm sure Calvin will have a little slice, or at least run his finger across one of the turrets before we're through. We plan to show you a lot of neat things before we're finished here today, but mostly it's not for us. It's to honor this man that we've all come to know and love. This man who, through terrible adversity, kept building and rebuilding this tremendous land of make-believe after floods and pestilence destroyed it time and time again, and he's still doing it. He's been in a little frail health over the last year or so, but he keeps bouncing back, takes a licking, and keeps on ticking like the Timex watch, and we hope to have him here today. We'll have a nice ceremony inside, we'll make a few presentations, and we'll wish a very happy birthday. I hope Calvin will lead the singing for the happy birthday song for our friend Arto Monaco in Upper J, New York. And we're inside the library where it's nice and toasty and warm, and I was just so delighted that the winds let up long enough for us to get over here today, because if you didn't have a low center of gravity, the wind gusts up to 40 or 50 miles an hour were liable to push you right off the sidewalk, and vehicles were heading for the ditches. But we made it here today. I have with me, you are the librarian.
No, this is Carol McDowell, the librarian.
Carol is the librarian.
She is. I'm president of the board.
Well, both prestigious positions for sure, and we'll be interviewing her in a moment.
Mine pays an awful lot more than ours.
Sylvia Norton, right?
Right.
Thanks so much for inviting us up here today. Not that we would have missed it if we heard about it. This is just a wonderful occasion to do honor to one of our dear, dear friends.
Well, native son here.
He certainly is a native son, and it's hard to believe that we've known him for a long, long time, probably since 1953, I guess, when the Land of Make-Believe first opened.
Well, we've known him longer than that. His dad had a restaurant over across the street.
We've seen the pictures.
And, well, my family lived here then, and so we've known him for a very long time.
Did you get to go to the Land of Make-Believe a lot back in the 50s?
Well, back in the 50s, I was a grown-up person, but my children did.
As so was I.
But my children did a lot.
I took my children there a lot when they were small.
I didn't have to take mine. They just went down the hill.
Went there. And the funny part of it is Ardo told us, because we saw a lot of the old footage, the old film, there were kids running around all over the place dressed like cowboys, and he said he would let the neighborhood kids dress up and stay there all day.
That's right.
Isn't that neat?
So,
Well, we hope Ardo's going to be here today. As I told you, he's been in frail health lately, but he's a trooper.
yes, he was here Wednesday, so we hope.
He
He
was-
said he was going to try and be here today, so we hope
He
so.
was here Wednesday for another occasion that you have quite often. What's
Yes,
it
it's called Tea and Talk, and
Talk.
our program was by Don Morrison, who had been on the Appalachian Trail, and he talked about his experiences.
Isn't that great? This is an addition to the Wells
This is an
Memorial
addition
Library.
that was put on in 2001. The wall used to be right over there where the columns are, and the children's area used to be up front in the old part where the computers are. And when we had this addition put on, we had this special flooring put in for children, and we wanted picture book bins to hold these odd-sized books, and Ardo designed this train, and he and Linda and Asa made it.
Isn't that wonderful? And I think probably in some of our footage, in one of the, how many have we done? 4 with him, Calvin? 5 now? Programs with Arto Monaco. I think he was working on these trains.
Well, he could have been if it was in 2001, because they arrived here just about 2 years ago.
Don't you
This
love
month.
it? Gopher Gulch Railroad,
And
Big
Griff-
Toad.
And graffiti.
Oh, I just love it. Isn't somebody's already put chalk marks in?
No,
or
Ardo
did-
put
He
chalk.
did that?
Yes, that's
Oh,
graffiti.
I just love it. I see the Big Toad again and the Pollywog Railroad, and he's done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you told me, Sylvia, that since he did this, he's had some more requests.
Yes, 2 that we know of. 2. Oh, yes. This is the whistle that the children can.
Oh, come on over here and say hello. Come on. Oh, she's running away again. We'll catch her before she leaves. This is what now?
Well, if you push that,
Okay, are you ready for this? Isn't that great? That tells us that the... Oh. Can you hear that all right? Oh, I love it. I love it. Just those 2 sounds?
you push it again. Too.
Boy, that's a train that's familiar to me. That's a sound that's familiar to me from my youth.
Well,
I miss the steam
children
train.
like this, but we don't leave it out, because if we left it out,
There would be no batteries.
that's correct.
I might put it in my pocket and play with it all the way home. I just think that's really great. So you let the kids
Yes.
push the button once in a while?
Oh, yes. They know, the ones who come all the time, they know to ask Carol if they can blow the whistle or whatever for the
What?
train.
How long has this birthday celebration been planned, Sylvia?
A couple months. In the beginning, it wasn't really planned. It was just decided upon.
Some things just happen in spite of themselves.
And then Ellen over here talked to Linda and got the date that was going to be convenient for everybody, so the date was today. And somebody told me that it was actually Ardo's birthday today.
It couldn't be any better. Let me see, what was I doing on November 15th, 1913? I was flying around the ethers saying, I wonder what's going to happen in 1937. Do you go to his shop ever, or do you just see him here? Or
Oh, no, we go to his shop. As a matter of fact, we're in the midst of photocopying for our archives a lot of his material.
Are you really?
Yes.
Isn't that amazing?
Of course, he has binders and binders and binders of it, and we've only done 3, I believe, but now that we get
You
through
better
the
hope
holidays...
you make it to
we'll-
90 before so you can get all that stuff down. This guy is so incredible. Talk about a legacy.
That's correct. We've done his correspondence, personal correspondence, and the binder that has his experiences in the service. And we're working on some rather special projects that is going to be very difficult because some of the pages really got water damaged
Did they
in
really?
one of the floods. Yeah.
You know, we've been privileged to have Ardo take us around inside what I call his museum to see all of the things that he had in what used to be the entrance to the land of make-believe. The man has done so many things, has touched the lives of so many people, including Calvin's and mine, and lots of people through this program that we do on television. But the fact that he's had a hand in designing and building thousands of games and toys that many people have never seen.
And many theme parks. Not just Land of Make Believe, but many others.
Many other theme parks. As some of our viewers know, I was more than touched and thrilled to be talking with Ardo one day and telling him how I played the role of a silly cowboy when I was just a young guy 100 years ago, and rode bulls and rodeos and worked in a place called Adventure Town up in the Thousand Islands. And he smiled and his eyes twinkled as they do, and he uttered a word that we left on the tape and said, "I built that place. I designed that place." He proceeded to tell me how he arranged for them to get the stagecoach that I rode in every morning, running out of the woods with the bad guys chasing us. And he just one of those guys who had a hand in all of those places. And about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I still hear a train.
I think you're probably pushing the button.
You think it was still going? That's
no, I
amazing.
think you probably
No,
pushed
I
it
pushed
by
it
mistake.
because I like it, Sylvia. But I got an email from a gentleman in Florida who works for Disney. And for the last 20 years, I believe he said, he's been designing theme parks. And he said in the email, because somehow he found one of my columns where I had mentioned Adventure Town, and he said, when I was a little boy, growing up in Watertown, my parents took me to Adventure Town, and I loved that place. And I've purchased several postcards from eBay. And he said, I would love to be able to do the architecture based on those postcards and maybe figure out how that place was designed. He said, can you tell me any more about it?
Oh,
And I sent him an email. It probably took him 3 days to read because it was voluminous, telling him that I not only, yes, I had worked there, I had done all those things, but I could do one better. I could introduce him to the guy who designed the place. And so I hope that he's been in touch with Arto Monaco because it would make his day, since they both designed theme parks, and Arto's been doing it for years
long
and
time.
years and years.
Yeah.
And every time I go into that shop, he's got 44 more projects that he's still working on, he and Linda. It's
Yeah.
amazing. And all
When
the-
we were there a couple months ago, and he was showing us all these little things he was working on, all these different sized castles, many different sized castles, and all kinds of animals and things to be painted, and yep, he's
And-
always busy.
And the fact that he's 90 years young does not show in his artwork. As feeble as his hand might be, the things he draws are beautiful and childlike and thrilling, and all the little animals. And we watched him one day as he was doing a large, I think it was going to be an outdoor sign for some theme park in New England, and he was just sketching it out and having a raccoon peek around the tree limb. And
Yeah, he was doing a sign when we were there. It was for a restaurant that's somewhere around here. I'm not sure where.
yeah, he told us about doing restaurant signs, and he keeps taking these new jobs as if he's going to live forever, so I guess we ought
Well,
to start
that
saying
helps,
our
I
prayers
guess.
now. But you know what? That's probably why he's 90 years old, because he's just plain never stopped.
Probably.
And I hope that part of the archives that you're able to capture here will perhaps include some of the video
Yes.
from those old 8mm and 16mm movies which we've had on our show.
Yes, we've been able to get the first 3 tapes that we will put in our archives. And we have a video VCR TV. And if people want to watch them, they won't be taking them home. They can watch them here. And we'll preserve them in our archives. This is our archives room behind that door. It's climate controlled. So
And tell me what kinds of things you have in your archives now.
We have a lot of old photographs. We have a lot of
boy.
copies of old photographs. We have several genealogies,
Do you?
and we have not real artifacts. We have two artifacts. One is a tile of the old general store that used to stand down here on the corner, and the other is a 1909 advertising calendar plate.
Oh, isn't
So,
it?
but other than that, we don't really collect great-grandma's butter churn and stuff like that because we don't have room for it. And it has to really pertain to the communities of J and Upper J.
You know, we as I was watching our channel 15 on our cable system in Plattsburgh, probably the same cable system that where people watch it up here through Charter. Last night we were running tape that we did celebrating 100 years for the Champlain Telephone Company. And it just happened that a group of librarians were there, right, Calvin? Maybe 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 librarians on the scene. And my wife said, "You look like you're tickled to talk to librarians." I said, "Anybody who loves books has got to be a friend of mine."
Well,
People who support libraries are my kind of people.
we have very good community support here.
What would
From
we,
our- from
what
our-
would we do without our local library?
I don't know, we're pretty busy. Maybe you'd like to take a film of the cake that was designed with the castle
Oh,
before it's cut into.
I can't have any, as I said before. I'm on that Atkins diet, so
Well,
I
you
won't
won't be able to have anything then except a glass of water.
But I'll smile and lick my chops the whole time. Sylvia, thanks so much for talking with us today, and thanks so much for inviting us here for this
Oh,
very
you're-
special occasion.
We're glad you came.
We're delighted too. I love it. All right, we're peeking at Ardo coming up the sidewalk, and inside, Sylvia, I just want to take a look at this castle cake before we get into it. This is a beautiful table you've prepared. Tell me about the genesis of this cake.
This cake was designed and made by Paul Johnson, who is our Upper J baker. He has a cafe and a bakery down over the bridge and down a little bit on the left. And in the back here is a dungeon, which I'm not sure you can see, but
Isn't
over
that
here is a
neat?
little dungeon. And it's supposed to represent the castle at the Land of Make Believe.
Isn't it absolutely just terrific? We saw him when he brought it in here,
Oh, did you?
and it was so neat to have him here and to have him be part of this celebration. I'll bet you everybody within 50 miles would love to be here today, and I hope they enjoy watching this on television, because this is a pretty big deal for me, and I know it is for you too. So
Well, we hope we have a lot of people here to pay their respects to Ardo today.
let's do that. We saw him sneaking in a minute ago, and we can't
Well,
wait to have a
probably
little
will get
chat
him
with
over
him.
at the back.
We're going to do that. Thanks, Sylvia.
You're welcome.
We're working this whole thing up to a fever pitch here. It's 5 minutes before 1, 5 minutes before the formal celebration is about to begin. And I'd like to say hello to a gentleman who's very famous in this area, Lee Manchester. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
We didn't realize until we walked in the door that you had done 2 amazing and wonderful articles about our dear friend Arto Monaco. Back in October?
Yeah, I guess it was.
October 3rd
Yeah.
and October 10th. I'll show the
Yeah.
front page of each.
I think I actually spent time with Ardo in late September. So, but yeah, it's great. It was great just spending time with him, but to learn more about some of the incredible things that he's done in his lifetime and how important he's been to the development of this part of the Adirondacks is
It's truly amazing, and it's
It
such
really
a
is.
such a selfless personality. We've
Yeah.
done 4 2-hour television shows with him
Yes.
already.
Yes.
5 now?
5. Okay.
5. Oh my goodness! But who's counting, right?
Yeah.
So what was this like getting this information, Lee?
Well, a lot of it was just pulled together from well, I guess not a lot, but there have been a couple of other really good articles. One of them particularly by Ann McKinnon, who lives here.
Yes.
Used to live here anyway in Upper J. Really wonderful article for Adirondack life. But for the rest of it, it was just going and sitting down and talking with Ardo and getting him to tell tell a whole bunch of stories and sitting down and listening, and you know what that's like.
It's not too hard to get them started, is it?
No, it's
All you got to do is turn that little key and let them go, and we've done that so many times, and Calvin and I are both mesmerized
Yeah.
because we're talking about 90 years of history. 90 years of history.
Yes, indeed.
How long have you worked for this paper?
Just about 3.5 years.
But you're from this area?
No,
originally?
no, I came from Los Angeles. Came to marry the woman that I came in with.
And she's gone already.
No, I didn't, Mary. I'm so sorry.
Lee, thanks for talking with
My
us.
pleasure.
Have a wonderful
Good to
day.
meet
You too.
Now, what's this all
You are here, Sid Couchy. How are you, my friend? And
Good.
Ruthie, how are you doing? Great to see
Good to
you.
be here. Wouldn't miss it if possible.
You guys celebrated number 44 yesterday.
We did.
We saw that on the front page of the New York Times this morning. No.
Right.
We didn't know if you were going to be here. You've got some family visiting.
Our
don't you?
daughter and son-in-law and our baby, who's 5 months old.
5 months old. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, and he isn't in the comic books yet, so we thought we'd leave him home.
We
but-
might be able to find a place for him in the next edition, right?
Yeah.
Calvin blew up this must be one of your early caricature sketches
That's right.
for this notorious comic book that will be hitting the stands before we know it.
This one, Notorious?
Yeah, I think it's notorious. They're
That's one word for it.
they're pretty notorious, and we thought that when he gets here, you might like to present this to Ardo. Calvin had it specially laminated for the
I have to
occasion.
apologize, though, because I had set aside my my kerchief, and I was going to, I was never without the red kerchief.
Oh, I know.
I hope he doesn't notice it.
Oh, that's perfectly all right. That'll be neat to give him that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So what's new in your life? We haven't talked to you in a few months.
5-month-old grandchild. No. Well, Champy is still surfacing now and then. And of course, I'm looking forward to the completing the famous comic book and letting the public know how notorious three characters can be in the North Country here. Anyway.
That's a lot of fun. And somebody knocked on the door to my office the other day and came in and said, Gordie, I got to find a couple of Champy T-shirts to send to some relative who lives in another state. I said, well, I'm gonna see Sid on Saturday. Maybe I'll ask him who's got some of those famous T-shirts. Have you got any more to sell, or are they?
Well, no, I'm pretty well done.
There were a lot of them, Ruthie,
I
way
think
back
they're all
when.
gone.
Really?
Yeah, there's a few around that just say champion, just the lettering, but
Not the famous.
no.
Not the famous Sid Couchy.
No.
Hump and a half, huh?
They may have them over to in Vermont, the Echo, that new place.
None that glow in the dark, anyway.
That's right.
Oh.
No.
Well, she was hoping that you would still have a stash of those somewhere. And we found the website, but then it didn't seem to work very well. So we said maybe the T-shirts are gone. Who knows?
Well, what I've had fun with Champy lately is this new Echo thing over in Vermont. They've taken my Champy by the Masters and made postcards, a set of 12
kidding.
postcards of it. So we've had a lot of fun with that. And by the way, who is this guy that's hanging around here aiming stuff?
Yeah, we've seen him. He loves to aim things at us. We've surprised you a couple of times with aiming that thing too, haven't we?
And now
Those are some of the golden moments of my life.
Yeah.
That was a great
Now if you guys, you want to top that?
Sure, we'll top it.
Well, next year I'll be 85. Ruth will be 75. We will have been married 45 years. And the only thing I can think of is for you guys to say, Sid, how would you like to throw out the first pitch in Cleveland?
No, we've already done that. I mean, we've already
Okay.
done that.
All right, well,
Of course, we haven't been to Cleveland.
I can't do anything.
Yeah, I know.
We'll think of
and I hope
something.
you never can. The relationship that we've all had with the guy we're honoring here today is pretty special.
Yes.
I mean, you know, 90
Yeah.
years young,
Yeah.
leaving all these wonderful things that he's designed
He
and
is
places and
So
signs. and
talented. Oh, he's
only one
incredible.
Ardo.
He's
Yeah.
really incredible.
there is. So we're just so thrilled that you folks made it up here today. We
Wow.
almost expected you to have a pack on your back with a 5-month-old baby on it, Ruthie. You left them back home?
Well, they decided they would stay home. Yeah.
Well, the thing of it
He's
is
been
every
having problems.
every hour he needs either a bath or burped or change or something. They're on a
He's been
time
a little
schedule.
colicky today, so.
Oh, no, that's terrible.
I mean, don't let that get around that the Couchy was colicky.
Yeah, Sid hasn't has made it up the North Way. Did you have any bad weather down your way?
No,
No,
oddly
we
yeah.
didn't
enough,
have any snow.
You
You
didn't?
have
we
snow
didn't
here.
have a snow that day before they
We had wind.
prophesied all the. Oh, there's Ardo now.
Oh, he arrived.
He's here. Let me just turn my back to you for 1 second. And here he is here to celebrate number 9. He's got the hat, and you got the hat.
Yeah.
Oh, I should have worn my hat.
Is that his wife, the white-haired lady? Or-
Oh, I can't see that far. Nope. Isn't that marvelous? Let's just move in and see what's happening here as people celebrate. Once again, oh, let's listen to hear what's happening.
Here today to pay our respects to Ardo, our native son, on his 90th birthday. And we have a poem that's going to be especially for Ardo for today. Ellen Metcalf's going to read the poem, since she did it.
When Sylvia asked me to do this, I was going to write just a little short thing, Ardo, but it grew. And like your life, it grew, and so I have entitled it very pretentiously, The Song of Ardo. We celebrate nonagenarian Ardo, who sketches and designs with wit, passion, and verve. I should tell you about his upper J motto. I could, but I would not. I don't have enough nerve. He's always quick with a yarn, joke, or a story. His memory traverses close to 90 years. A storied life, well told, with its share of glory, marching to a siren song, which he alone hears. Rockwell said, "Go to Pratt, your talents will be found." A stint with Disney, then back home to Upper J. The Army used his skills, Legion of Merit bound. He designed Santa's workshop and made toys for play. Still, deep within, he harbored a different dream. A theme park for kids where buildings were just their size. A castle, saloon, stagecoach, boat, and train with steam. Truly a land of make-believe, fun, and surprise. Droves of people came from nearby and far away. Upper J was booming from spring through to the fall. People of all generations at work and play. It seems Ardo's big dream had come true after all. Alas, Mother Nature had wet tricks up her sleeve. Successive floods knocking down what Ardo had built. In '79, he closed the land of make-believe. The crumbling remains inspired dismay and guilt. Having designed countless places, where's Ardo now? Why, in the shop with Linda, where he always is. Working on dozens of projects, I don't know how. Generating multitude of ideas, all his. Dear Ardo, you've entertained and inspired us all. We raise a toast on your 90th birthday. To the bandana-clad man who kept us in thrall, we wish you joy, happiness, good luck, come what may.
I just realized how much goes by in 90 years. And, hi, Gordon.
Hey, how are you, my friend?
It's wonderful that you people took time out today, especially. I saw Mark Cross from the Chronicle in Lake George, and I said, you know, I didn't realize I had so many damn fool friends. to come out in this weather. But I'm glad you came, and I want you to know that everything I did in life, I had somebody back of me, helping me. And the doctor said to her 3-4 weeks ago, we're always saying, well, you're going to live another week or another month or 2 years. And I said to him, he said, I've done all I can for you. And he said, from now on, it's up to the guy up there. And I believe him. And I'm feeling better. Really don't feel bad for him. It's just this cold weather, I get kind of stiff. But as far as ordinarily, I feel pretty good.
You're looking great.
Thank you.
Now, before you sit down, Ardo, maybe you want to look at the cake which Paul Johnson made for you.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Dick, take it off.
Hi, Andy.
Don't you kiss me.
What do you think of that, my friend?
Wasn't that nice?
You can.
We saw him carry it in this morning. We were so afraid they weren't going to make it up the steps, but they did. That's pretty good likeness, isn't it, huh?
Yes. Isn't that Sid got you there?
Yes, that's Sid. Come on over here, Sid.
Yeah, I tried to hide. You just tried to hide behind that cowboy hat.
But you know, I also had my red bandana set aside to wear, and I apologize because I came out without it, and so I feel naked in front of you. But anyway, as one of the 3 baddest men of the West, and you know who the other 2 are. Anyway, here's a little memento.
Castine.
And for you, and in all your glory, in all your wicked glory there. But anyway. And
It says he's suave and cunning, and I guess we'd have to agree, wouldn't we?
that's right. Whatever that means.
Isn't that the greatest?
Oh, it's good to see you.
Okay. Listen, I'm going to sit down and
Come on over here and sit down a little bit. Be careful.
tell you.
Everybody hasn't
No.
signed the community card over here on the table. Please sign it. It's so
If there's anything anybody wants to ask me questions,
Skip her up.
You're in tow.
I love it.
Everybody's had a look at the cake. I'm going to
You're at the library.
Janice is on the cake. Here's your
I'll tell you what, this may not be the biggest venue in the world for a party this size, but after 90 years, I guess he deserves it.
I think it's the right venue,
I
know,
think
and
actually
certainly
it's perfect, isn't it?
it is, and the mood is perfect too.
I just love it. It's once again, we're honoring the 90th birthday of our dear friend Arto Monaco from the land of make-believe, and his friend Mark Frost, right?
Yes, that's right.
Who owns a newspaper where?
In Glens Falls called the Chronicle, and I've interviewed Ardo at length. I'm hoping to do a biography of Ardo, but there's such a huge story to tell. He's done so many things that it's hard to get it done.
It's hard to get it started.
Well, we've gotten it started.
We started it a long time ago, as our chronicle with Ardo goes way back to our memories way back in the 1950s when he started this land of make-believe. But his story goes back long before that. As we know, celebrating his 90th birthday today, and his World War II stories alone are enough to fill 3 books.
Yeah, and
so you better get busy.
I know. And then you got the Pratt Institute and Rockwell Ken, and It's sort of unbelievable. Just this creative life force that is just so strong and 90 years old and it still flows through. It's like the Osable River itself.
We didn't even know if he was going to be well enough to get here, and as I watch him, he's absorbing the energy from the people in this room.
That's a great way of describing it.
Never ceases to amaze me.
I agree with you.
Way more than 9 lives, and he's made liars out of a lot of doctors and outlived most of the ones that he's had throughout his life.
Well, he told me one story when he was in the hospital in Vermont, and they said, it doesn't look good for you, and he said, I'm not dying in Vermont. There's no way I'm dying in Vermont. So he had to come back here, and then he defied them again.
Tell me about your first associations. When did you first hear about Arto Monaco?
Well, now in the Glens Falls, Lake George area, we had Storytown, USA. And Charlie Wood is somebody that we've written about many times. And I knew Ardo first through Charlie Wood because Ardo made a huge imprint on Storytown. A lot of what people cherish in their memories of Storytown, now The Great Escape, is what Ardo had done. The little buildings for little people and just the characterization of the story of the nursery rhymes and all. So that's how I first got to know Ardo. And then the more that I talked to him, the more I saw just a fascinating person.
Absolutely, and absolutely humble about everything.
And funny, very funny.
Hilariously funny. My wife is the biggest Arto Monaco fan in the world. And as I said, we've done now 5 interviews with Ardo and about Ardo. And every time it comes on the air, my wife locks the dogs in another room so they won't growl or bark when it's on. And it's like watching Sid Caesar to her. She loves every line, and she's on the floor laughing the way he puts his words together.
There's an impishness in what he does.
Don't you love it?
He's sort of incorrigible when you come right down to it. Has he ever told you the story of, he was sitting in a restaurant, the Friendly's restaurant in Glens Falls, with another artist, a production person from Storytown, The Great Escape. And he's, for no reason, he says, you want to see the manager get very upset and probably give us a free lunch. And the other, John Kennison, the other artist, says, okay. Ardo gets up and he takes his tape measure out and he starts measuring the booth. And he's all, this way and that way. For no reason, the manager comes over, is there a problem? No problem, we just want to get readings of what this is. Well, they were so sure that somehow they were, disobeying some law or Disabilities Act or something. They said, the lunch is on us. Is there anything else that you would like? And he's just doing this. Here was a man at that point in his 70s just having fun. No harm to anybody, but laughing.
Much of his life has been having fun. His relationship with the United States Army back during the war years was interesting, and he's given us some of the inside scoops. The fact is, based on what you know and what we know, he made an inestimable contribution to the war effort, didn't he?
Brilliant. These training aids, he really revolutionized the Army's training aids. And he said something profound to me one day. He said, the trick in making training aids is, if the item is small, you've got to make it big. If the item is big, you got to make it small. So if it's a tank you're training people with, you need a little miniature thing. But if it's a weapon with a very complex little mechanism, you got to blow that up in an illustration.
And put layers on it that you can take off and take off.
Exactly. And he knew how he had something that the Army needed. And so he knew he could play that to get away with, if he needed leave, he got leave. And again, there was just this a kid-like quality, even while he was doing significant work, and the balance that he keeps between just this fun aspect and the seriousness. I've never seen anybody keep that balance any better than Arto Monaco.
At age 90, when you go into a shop and sit down and pet the dogs and talk to Linda and everybody else who comes in there, you can see that childlike quality in everything he touches. His drawings are all juvenile and beautiful.
Yeah.
And it brings out the kid in all of us, I think.
It does. And the other thing I'm struck when you're there in the studio is the steady stream of people coming in. He must have 1 million friends. Arto Monaco must have 1 million friends, because you're sitting there and people are coming in, just they want to drop by, and I think they want to draw some of his energy, that positivism that he has.
And to think that he's been around since November 15th, 1913.
It's a long way back. Well, he told me he remembers when the state troopers were on horses.
On horseback, and we've talked about it on several occasions.
That in itself is, I didn't think about that was the reality. I mean, into the Adirondacks, it was the reality, I guess, into the 30s.
And of course, and the troopers would stop in at their local post office to get their galloping orders for the next week.
Yeah.
And they check in every now and again, and they lived in barracks, and he knows the whole story. Everybody's got an Arto Monaco story, and I'm sure everybody in this room has one or two. My favorite Arto Monaco story, if I had to, I should do the David Letterman top 10.
That'd be good.
But this one would be number 1, about a Halloween when they were little kids. They decided that they would pull a trick on the neighborhood around here. And they went to every person who lived in town had at least one cow. That's where you got your milk from. So he and his cronies went around and switched all the cows. So the hired man or the...
That's a lot of work involved in that stunt.
Of course. And they got up in the morning and we milked their cow, half awake, and we realized this cow doesn't feel like my cow.
Yeah.
This cow doesn't look like my cow. And I'm not sure that he ever told his parents what really happened, but these kids pulled off the joke of the century by switching maybe 100 cows in this area before morning. Isn't that wonderful?
It is. And that's Ardo to a T. He's just been enjoying life, the whole 90 years.
Have you written about him a lot?
I've written articles about him. Like I said, I want to do the whole biography. I've written more so far about the war years, and he's got these, I'm sure you've seen these photos that are classic photos of him and his cronies, and that was an amazing time. And then just the fact that some of the model houses that he built for the Army were essentially the proving ground for what he did for Land of Make-Believe. He made a make-believe thing for the Army, and then he made his own Land of Make-Believe.
And the fact that he, in essence, raised this place from its proverbial ashes so many times when the floods came and knocked him out, the man stood up and just took a deep breath without much help from the government of the local area and rebuilt the place time and time and time again.
Yeah, it's amazing. But again, that's that life force. It flows through him. I would hope there needs to be a permanent installation, or ideally a museum, or the Adirondack Museum should have one of these buildings within its gates, because Ardo was such a significant person. And the Adirondack amusements, that post-World War II, when you had 10 or 20 parks that were doing so great. And I feel that's underrepresented in the Adirondack Museum.
There's no question.
And a very important aspect of the history of this region. And a good drawing card for the museum, because kids would want to go into that. My kids are now 9 and 11, so they're a little older, but when they were little at Storytown, they wanted to go, or at Great Escape, they wanted to go to the Storytown part more than to the modern rides and the roller coasters.
And had they been of an age in 1953 when the Land of Make-Believe opened, they would have loved it here as I did, and I was an adult in those years, but my kids were small, and they have treasured memories now of 50 years ago of being at the Land of Make-Believe in Upper J, New York. This Wells Memorial Library, where we're having this birthday celebration for Ardo today, has an archives room, and they plan to preserve the tapes that we've done in our modest effort to capture at least some of the essence of this man. And he's represented in so many places. As I've said before, and I'm sure you've written about, the man had a hand in designing and building something like 2,000 toys and games that have been used all over the world. That's a whole separate part of his life.
Yeah. Oh,
So I don't know how you would capture the man's essence in a museum, but I think you ought to try.
well, it would be great. I think it'd be an attraction for Upper J to have something like that. But the thing is, the more you ever find out about Ardo, I mean, there's layers, 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 and he never runs out of interesting tales to tell.
We haven't received the full story, but we heard a murmur that somebody might be able to come up with the money to reconstruct the Land of Make-Believe castle that we saw represented in that cake here today. And wouldn't that be a perfect place to open as some kind of an attraction or a museum?
I hope that happens. That really needs to happen. In the poem that the lady read at the
Wasn't that
beginning,
neat?
when she said, to see it sort of in ruins, we feel dismay and guilt. And that's those are two good words for it, because that needs to be done as soon as possible. That should be done. That should be preserved permanently or reconstructed permanently.
Well, this is the start of it all. This is the man's home for such a long time. But as you said before, his hand has touched a huge area here in northeastern New York and New England and other states as well. And people at this very moment are sending letters and emails asking him to help design something or other in California and Florida and New Jersey and who knows where.
Yeah.
And as long as he can lift a pen and a paintbrush, I have a feeling he'll be doing it.
I think you're exactly right. I think it's great that you're taping them and doing what you're doing to help that along.
And you too, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here today and for meeting you.
Well, it's my pleasure.
Have
Nice
a great
to meet
day.
you. Thanks.
See you later.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ardo. Happy birthday to you.
A while back on one of our 5 shows that we did with Arto Monaco, in his shop, we met this gentleman who's been a friend of Arto's for a long time. I've already forgotten your name.
Mickey Donnelly.
And from New Jersey?
No, Florida.
Oh, from Florida. Yeah, but that's not a Florida accent.
Well, I'm from Brooklyn originally.
Brooklyn, there you go. So you got to be from
Yeah.
Brooklyn. You can be proud of it. Now, we were talking about a project that you had underway, and Ardo was making signs and stuff.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that and how it's going.
Well, it's coming along fine. What he did, he made the teepees. He got a little board there, cabins. He's got a little kids pointing where the directions are. So by the spring, we should start building the cabins. Well, we're done with the fence work. We're
This
done
is
with
a
everything.
summer camp for
No,
kids?
this is for kids who can't grow. My granddaughter couldn't grow at one time, and now she's a doctor. So we put the camp up here. Eventually, sure it'll be up here full time. We're on phase 1 now, and next year we'll be on phase 2.
Where is it located?
In Jay, New York, right next to the Sable Acres.
So it's not very far from here.
No, it's not too far. It's
Every
lucky
once in a while, I get a little email from her.
Oh, for my daughter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To tell me what's going on,
Yeah,
and where
she's
she
coming
is.
along. Yeah.
and that's
It's coming along. He's
wonderful.
doing good. That's what keeps him alive. He's got a new project to work on kids. He jumped out of the hospital bed one day, came down, and started working on the kids.
Isn't that
Yeah,
amazing?
it's amazing.
That's why he
Yeah.
made it to 90.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's what keeps him going. You got to see what he did.
You had a little bypass.
Yeah, I just have 5 bypasses in May. But we got to go up there and work.
You are amazing. So how much time do you spend up here?
I spent 6 months here, 6 months in Florida. And I got a restaurant in Wilmington. I got another one over here. So, little by little, I hope to stay here 8 months a year because it's a beautiful
Keep him
country.
busy just making signs till
Oh,
he's
yeah.
100 years old.
That's what's keeping him going.
Hey, thanks for talking with us
Okay,
today.
it's been a pleasure.
Good
Lots
luck
of
and stay in touch
Yeah.
with us. Let
Test
us
by,
know
see
how
how
that's
it's coming.
going.
It's coming out good.
That's great.
Okay, thank
Thanks
you
a
very
lot.
much. Thank you.
Well, it's not Marion, the librarian, but
No.
it's Carol McDowell. How are you?
I'm just fine, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Well, what a kick.
Oh, wonderful.
When I came here at 12 o'clock, you and I and a couple of kids were about the only ones in the building. Boy, did that change an hour later.
Just put Ardo's name on it and they come.
Is this exciting or what?
It is wonderful. It is wonderful. We are so fortunate to have this man in our community. He has done so much for this community and our children here in the library. He's come out to do all kinds of projects with them, and we had a group come down from Plattsburgh from BOCES, I say, but the children came down. They did this whole program, this whole study on Ardo and the land of make-believe. He spent hours with them. He was just wonderful. So the kids and the people in this community are very lucky to have him.
We know how much he loves kids. He
Yeah.
gets misty-eyed whenever he talks about all the animals he had at Land of Make Believe,
Right.
and all the neighborhood kids,
Yes.
the people who are now in their, some of them in their 60s.
Well, my
who-
daughters grew up in the area, and
Really?
their playground was the Land of Make-Believe. They were allowed to go there. I wouldn't let them go every day, but they were allowed to go there just to play. That was their playground.
Can you
and
imagine?
They're in their 30s.
Can you imagine
Yeah.
being able to go and stay all day?
I wish my grandchildren could have seen the Land of Make-Believe. All these theme parks are wonderful, but the Land of Make-Believe was very special, very special.
Well, because it's here.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
And the blasted weatherman or woman, whichever the case may be, did not do very nice things. For the people who have been to Upper J, they know that this beautiful, placid river that flows right behind the Wells Memorial Library, outside that yonder window, can be very nasty.
We all know this. We all know that. We all live on the river, and we all know it. But losing the land was really, really hard, really tough.
What kind of person does it take to rebuild a Land of Make-Believe time and time again after being virtually destroyed?
Yeah.
With buildings tipped over and things up in the trees and...
Arto Monaco. I mean, that's all you can say. And he had a passion, and that was it. And that was his passion, and he just kept working at it.
He's 90 today, and I guess what? As many physical problems as he's had lately, he still has that passion.
He does. And he seems to bounce back. We'll have a day where we see him and he doesn't feel well, and the next day he says, I'm fine. So
As I said before when we were interviewing Mark Frost from Glens Falls, Ardo is absorbing energy from the people who are here today.
I hope so.
He walked in and could barely get out of his chair, and now he's engaged in what I would say conservatively is animated conversation.
There you go.
I would like to make a presentation to your library in honor of our good friend Arto Monaco on behalf of the Plattsburgh Woodmen of the World Lodge, because I've been connected with Woodmen of the World for a long time. Calvin has too. And our friends asked us to bring a flag up here to present to the library in Arto's memory today.
Oh, how wonderful.
And this would be from the area manager, who's Dale Gagnon, lives right up the street from me, and our good friend Dwayne Langlois, who's the field representative, and over 500 members of the Woodmen of the World Lodge. They've given away lots of flags. Calvin has been responsible for handling a lot of those flags over the years. And I've got some old photographs of handing flags to groups, and one where I think we gave a wheelchair to the fire department right next door to my house in the days when I had much more hair and it was much longer and an entirely different color than it is today. So I'd like to make this presentation to you, that flag, in Arto's memory for this great occasion.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. This is a real kick. Have you counted the number of people who are here today?
And you know, I'm responsible to do that, but I didn't do that. I'm going to have to estimate
You
it.
pick a
because-
number and
Yeah,
we'll
right.
back you up
Okay,
right
all
until
right.
it's over. Thanks
Well,
again for having us
thank
here.
you. Thanks for coming. Sweet.
I love it. I heard you say you're going to be 83 next week.
I will be.
How is that possible? How did that happen? Last
Well,
week
I was born in Lake Placid. I'm originally from Lake Placid.
Now, first of all, we need your name again.
Mary Wallace. I was Mary Richards Wallace.
And you're the historian
I'm
for
historian
Upper J.
Town of J.
For the town of J, which
For
includes J,
J
and
and Upper J and Osable Forest.
And Osable Forest.
All three of them. And all of my artifacts are in the Civic Center in Osable because they moved them out of my house because I had so much. I'm like Addie Shields. I didn't have any more room to put anything. And they had bought 2 fireproof balls or files for me. And so I have a deputy, and so she's moving stuff.
Oh, boy.
All the time we keep moving stuff down, and I keep collecting. like wax paper that was put around Garsaw's bread. That's
Oh,
before
come
your
on.
time.
You gotta
Yes.
be kidding.
A friend brought that and laid it on in my house, and I looked at it. Oh God, that's Garsaw's paper bread with the wax paper.
So you're gonna have a little museum at the Civic
yes.
Center?
I used to take and go when the state required that the children had to learn their heritage. I would go down at the schools in Keysville and Ausable Forest and give the kids their heritage. And I had a traveling museum. It was all hands-on. Pocketbook, keys. You know how they used to have keys for everything?
Oh, sure.
I have a shoebox full of keys.
So do I.
Do
and
you?
I'm not even a historian.
You know the little ones for the desk? Oh, the
my
kids
goodness.
just love that.
I don't know
And
what most of my keys even go
I have
to.
a horseshoe. I have the funniest looking sunglasses. I have bottles I take with me. I sometimes do a thing with Grandma's kitchen with all of her utensils. I do them at Holy Name. And my daughter, by the way, is Beverly Hickey.
Oh, yes, of course.
So you see where she gets her history?
Oh, you see that? Well, how did you get involved in history? Have you always been
Always
interested?
been interested. But I wished I'd listened to my father because he worked at Lake Placid Club for years.
Oh, boy.
And he built the ski team, the bobsled runs.
Come on.
It was for the first Olympics in '32, and that's when we moved down to Lake Placid. He was not about to bring these 5 kids up in Lake Placid in that city.
Oh, boy, the big metropolis, huh?
Took us down on a farm in North Jane, August 8th, 1930. I was 10 years old.
Oh.
We didn't know what a carrot or a beet was, but we learned fast.
There is a difference, you know.
You sure there
One's
is?
yellow and one, yeah.
Beets, color, you learn fast what things are. And of course, they had a lot of pigs, and we chased pigs all over.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. So how long have you been historian?
Since '82.
Oh.
So I have collected an awful lot of history.
It's only a year, she's going to be 83.
See that?
But you know, I do more genealogy than I do anything. I have to
A
do
lot of people
history.
do who are involved in history.
I don't get a chance to write, but I did find out from this Andy Frey, who writes articles on history, it's in the paper, about the gas, because they always had these gas lights, and I could never find out where they got the fuel to burn them. Addie Shields told me once that they came from, they had them piped in Plattsburgh, but I said they didn't have it in Jay.
So they had a gas generator.
Yes.
Of course, they had to have a generator.
Well, they had to
out
have
there.
something like that. Yes.
Isn't that amazing?
Because Hazel Bartlett told me when they got electricity in 1910, her father put it upstairs because he had gas downstairs.
Oh, isn't that beautiful?
Gas stove,
Isn't that
all that
amazing?
something. Because we used to go down to a camp in the summertime, my mother and I, and do our canning. That hot water, run the gas stove.
Isn't that great?
We used to do a lot of canning, a lot of putting the stuff down for the winter. Kids today buy it all in the box.
I know.
We're a throwaway nation.
Yeah, we really are. You know, isn't it neat to be here to honor
Oh,
this
my
native
gosh.
son, Arto Monaco, today? Isn't
I
it great?
run the snack bar the second year it was open.
Come on.
For 2 years.
That would have been, what, 1954?
54,
probably?
53 and 54. I run the snack bar. Had the best time. All the kids worked there, like Rod Gilt, Sorrell. There was an awful lot of kids worked there. Some of them were here today. They worked there.
Well, this, as we've said at least 1,000 times since we pushed the on button and the red light started on
Yes.
that camera, this man has
Touched an awful lot of
so
lives.
many lives.
Well, so did his father, Uncle Louis. See, I still call him Uncle Louis because I worked there at one time cooking.
His dad had a
Restaurant.
restaurant garage.
Yeah. First he started with a garage and with, a gas. Then he had a store. Then he went into the restaurant business. He used to make Uncle Louis mad. People would be sitting down, eating, and somebody would come in, gomming around, looking around. You serve food? Of course, he was Italian. Oh, he could almost jump off the floor, and he'd come out in the kitchen. He said, "Don't those people know when they're eating at the table we serve food?"
I love
But
it.
he said it in a different language than that.
Oh, he did. Yeah, we know the language.
Not a bit like Ardo.
No. Just like Ardo. He is just like his father.
Like father, like son.
Yes. Yes, he had personality, just like Ardo.
So you've been around here all your life?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Do you live in the town?
I live in Jay, New York, right next to Ward Lumber.
So not too far from here?
No, Agnes Ward of Ward Lumber Company is my sister.
Oh, see that?
And she's right behind you.
She is, huh?
Yes. You ought to say hello to her.
Maybe she should hit me with a 2x4 just to get my attention.
No, I'll give you a hit by the 2x4. And then you can talk to her.
Well, you mentioned Addie Shields, our
Yes.
dear friend.
Oh, yes, she is to all of us.
Just every day she goes down to work there, and I drop over to see her, and she's always got
I think we're
15
the same.
people.
I think we're same age, but I think she's a month older.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, we've compared notes.
You don't hold that against her,
No,
right?
no. She's twice as small as I am.
So it's easy to get a passion for history.
Oh,
isn't it?
yes. Oh, my goodness, yes. When you first start in it, now, like a lot of these people that I sit down and visit with, you just bring up a name, because these people that were here was from Wilmington. They live in Lake Placid now. Dreisiacker, you know that name from North Pole. Well, this was his son. I visited them, found out who they were. She was related to Huffs. I knew the Huffs as kids in Placid when we were kids.
You know, if you talk to somebody long enough, you'll find a connection.
You do.
Everything, it's like a big cobweb. Everything is connected with
Connect
everything
somewhere around, some way.
Well, this is a special building right here.
Oh, yes, by itself, because I've got the history, not of the actual building, but the Wells used to have a house here by the name of Wells. The first name of Upper J was Wells.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Wells, New York.
I did not know that.
And then it was called Off Sable. Then they called it Upper J because the town of J was taken off in 1798. We've had our 200th anniversary. Mary, see you, baby. Take care.
Wonderful.
Be good.
See, you know, we got that kiss on television.
Huh? Oh,
Here.
good Lord, that's all I need.
Sure. Well, listen, we know what happened.
This is my friend Gabby.
Shut up, Mary.
Gabby, Gordie Little, how are you?
I know who you are,
This is
Gordie.
Calvin Castine behind
How do
the
you do?
camera.
Happy to see you.
What do you think about this celebration here today, Gabby?
Well, see, she's related.
He's my uncle.
You can talk nice about your uncle.
I love him. I just told him he's the most kissed man in the Adirondacks. Every woman I've seen has kissed him half a dozen
He goes to
times.
bed with a smile on his face
Always.
every night.
Always.
Isn't
Yes.
he beautiful?
That's why he doesn't sleep nights. He's thinking about all the kisses he gets all day.
He's the most amazing guy.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Love him.
Tell us some memories of
Oh,
Ardo.
good Lord. Well, I'll tell you what, a long, long time ago, I lived with them when they were in Aberdeen Proving Ground for a few months.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah. I lived with them in Aberdeen. And we were coming home from Aberdeen, and it took him an hour and a half to explain to us where the Delaware Water Gap got its name. Now, I'm sure he has absolutely no idea where it came from, but it took him an hour and a half to tell us anyway.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's what I always say. If you don't know, make something
Oh,
up.
yeah.
you know?
He talked, he was driving, and we were coming home from Aberdeen, and
You probably believed every word he said, too. No.
he's my uncle. I know him, Gordie.
Do you see him almost every day?
At least twice a week.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah.
She comes down and brings Clyde to get her hair done.
And I took her today to buy her. I take her on Tuesday to buy her groceries and have lunch, and I take her on Friday to have her hair done and have lunch. Except we couldn't go yesterday because I couldn't get out of the town of Keene.
Well, that was kind of crazy,
It was
wasn't
bad.
it?
It was bad.
The weather was awful. And
Yeah.
we're sorry that Gladys couldn't make it here today, but
She was tired. She's tired.
Too tired. Yeah.
And you know another thing, I think one of her biggest problems is she doesn't hear.
Can't
too
hear.
well.
And she want to go get a hearing aid.
Well, I don't blame her.
I don't either. I don't have one.
She said, I'm not going to pay $1,000
When I
for a
can
hearing
hear
aid
walk
at
on the
93.
hardtop, I don't need one.
Like your hat.
isn't that a good hat?
Yeah,
I like them.
I do too.
Well, you know what? It's great for you to be here today to honor this guy. And he's related to you, and you can love him. we feel as though he's family.
Oh, sure
How
you
can
do.
you
After
help
you
it?
once,
He's
after you
family
once
to
read
North.
it, that's why all these people are out, Gordie.
He's family to Northern New York. I mean, it's just
Did
no
you
question.
interview Rose?
Look at
No,
Rose.
but we will.
Oh,
And thank you so much for seeing us today. Thanks a lot. Have a great day. Bye-bye. See you. Rose, what's your last name?
Torrance.
We're so glad you came here today. Isn't this fun?
It's my pleasure.
Isn't this a lot of fun?
Yes, it is.
Have you known Ardo for a long time?
Oh, sure. He was born and brought up here, and I've been here all my life.
Have you really?
Yes.
You're both a part of the neighborhood then, aren't you, huh?
We certainly are.
How far away do you live, Rose?
I live a half-mile south of the bridge. Now, I used to live north of the bridge. That was my home.
Did you? So you can remember a lot about the land of make-believe, can't you?
Oh, I can. That's right.
It was only 50 years ago.
That's all. You're telling my age now. You're getting in my age bracket.
I was here too, so don't feel bad. It's just great to be here to sing happy birthday to a man we've all known and loved for a long time.
Yes, I've grown up with Ardo,
Have you really?
so to speak.
He's quite a guy.
Yep.
Rose, thanks so much for being here today and for talking with us.
It's my pleasure.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. We're going to end our program by taking a walk up and taking a look at some of the old buildings in the old castle. But before we go, I just want to say happy birthday. I'd sing it, but we'd have to end the program prematurely. But a happy 90th birthday to you. May you have at least as many more as you want. About 35 more?
20.
20 more will do it? You know that we'll be there. You can push us in our wheelchairs, all right?
Yep.
Thank you so much for all you've done for the North Country, and I know for all the people that were here today, there are at least 100-fold people who wish they could have been here today to wish you a happy day. So let me wish a happy birthday to you from all of them.
Okay. Thank you.
Have a great day, my friend.
Thank you.
We'll be thinking about you for a
Good.
long time to come. Thank you. I realize it will be a little bit of a sad commentary, but we thought we would end our 90th birthday celebration honoring Arto Monaco with a look at the land of make-believe and the way it looks today on November 15th, 2003, his 90th birthday. Some of the buildings still exist.
Be backing up.
The ravages of time have taken their toll, but not just time, but the river. The wild, raging, rolling, rampaging river that goes right near the land of make-believe has been responsible for a lot of what you see here today. And finally, it reached a point where it wasn't practical or feasible to rebuild the land of make-believe again. But those of you who are fans of our little corner and hometown cable in general will have seen our footage of the land of make-believe when it was in its prime in the 1950s and 60s. And perhaps you can, in your mind's eye at least, remember as a child, perhaps, standing in front of these very buildings when they were beautifully painted. There were cowboys, there were carriages, there were motorized vehicles, there were boats, there were horses, cows, goats. I think there's even a goat that wanders through these buildings even now today. We were told to be careful to lock the gate on our way in. I can see the castle from where I'm standing over my shoulder in the far distance with one of its spires against the backdrop of some of the most beautiful country in the whole world. And as I stand here, I can remember looking at those old 16 and 8mm movie pieces that are left of the great ice chunks, the huge snow, and the raging river coming right through this town. And how utterly discouraging it must have been for Ardo and his family and this community who just decided to pick themselves up by their bootstraps and get this stuff reconstructed and built again for another generation of kids. It's kind of sad to see it, but it's I'm not sure if it's the end of an era, but it's part of an era. And because we were celebrating Ardo's 90th birthday today, Calvin and I thought it would be an important thing for you to see what the land of make-believe looks like in the year 2003. When they say dust to dust, they aren't kidding. You can see as you look around some of the old vehicles that were used here. As I said, some of the buildings were actually transported down to Lake George. But part of the essence of what the land of make-believe is still existing here, and we're going to be careful as we walk down these old roadways. We've been cautioned to look out for the pitfalls and the holes here. But I hope we're taking you for a walk down memory lane today. It was a personal pleasure for Calvin and myself to meet many of the people who've been a part of Arto Monaco's life and he of theirs for his 90 years today on this earth. He told us that his wife Gladys would like to have been here, but she was a little bit tired. They've walked down a lot of paths together, and it was awfully nice to interview some of the people who spent a lot of time with Arto, his friends and families. Look at the old typewriter over here. That old typewriter right outside the building must date back to year 1. Maybe this was the newspaper office, huh? Hard to tell, but you get an idea of the scale of these buildings. They were all built kid size. That's the way Arto would have liked it. It was over to the right-hand side where people came into the land of make-believe here in Upper J, New York. And if you close your eyes and just listen, perhaps you will hear the sound of children's laughter. Believe me, there was a great deal of glee among the population who visited the land of make-believe in its many forms down through the years. This is beautiful country, and then we're recording this on the 15th of November 2003, and there's a chill in the air. I doubt if it's much over 30 degrees, if that. There's a brisk breeze, but thank goodness it's not the 50 and 60 mile an hour winds that we felt right to the marrow of our bones the day before we taped this program and the day before that. There's still a bit of snow on the ground, maybe an inch or two here, but it's certainly not impenetrable, that's for sure. I can promise you that if you were to follow me and interview any number of our kids, and Kay and I raised a large family, those in their 40s and 50s would easily remember the times they spent right here on the banks of the Osable River on this particular branch, walked right here in front of where this camera is pointing, and boarded the Billabong Bell to take a tour. There were animated creatures and events that happened in that jungle safari they still talk about today. It's very easy for me to be transported back in time just by standing on this ground, which for me, and I'm sure for my kids and maybe a lot of people who are watching this program, is really hallowed ground. I'm quite sure at this point in Arto's life and in our lives, we won't see another land of make-believe here. But I have heard murmurings and rumors that there might be a recreation of this castle at some point in time, and that would please me a great deal. Yes, it's now gone to rack and ruin, but when it was built the first time, it was magnificent. And it was built several times since then, and it was even more magnificent. And we've heard Arto say on numerous occasions how important it was for the kids to be able to go inside this castle and go all the way to the top, unlike the Disney castles in places on both coasts. You don't get to go into all of it, but here kids could. And that's what it was all about. And we've got photographs and footage of old movies showing kids waving outside those very windows. So that's what it's like here today. Thank goodness the sun is shining on the old land of make-believe. You can see where some of the spires and the parapets have fallen down over the years. I was wondering as Calvin and I rounded the corner for another perspective of the castle at the land of make-believe, if when Ardo passes here daily on his way to his shop, if he has regrets. And I would have to say no. Even though there isn't much left that would be salvageable here today, I'm sure he only has fond memories. Once again, for those of you who have watched this program, who saw us sitting in Ardo's bedroom as we showed the footage, the old film footage of the land of make-believe in its prime, how he would remember the names of every animal and every person he worked with, the names of the people from the community, and the names of the kids who came to play at the land of make-believe every day. He became misty-eyed, and I don't mind sharing with you that we did too, as we watched that footage and saw him remember what the land of make-believe was like in the 50s and 60s into the 70s. And that's why we're here today, celebrating 90 years of a man who meant a lot and still does mean a great deal to every one of us. This is the last shot you're going to see of the castle at the land of make-believe in Upper J, New York. But I'm sure the emotion connected with this day and all the other 90 years in the life of Arto Monaco will be with us in our hearts and our souls for a long time to come. Whether you're religious or not, for once in your life, just say a little prayer for Arto Monaco, who's not in 100% best of health today, but we hope he will be with us. What did he say? 20 more years, so we can celebrate 100 and 110 with Arto Monaco. It's been a great kick for Calvin and me and for you through the eyes of our hometown cable camera, I hope, to view this program today. A rousing happy birthday to Arto Monaco. Thank you all for watching the program, and who knows where we're going to be next time for our little corner.
And just so Ardo's fans know that he is keeping active, and here is a sample of his current project located just north of the hamlet of Jay on the way to Wilmington on Route 86. So Ardo's work continues as he enters his 10th decade.
Well, we hope you appreciated the program that you've just seen. We certainly enjoyed a great deal having done it, except that we're adding this little addendum 5 days later, so that we did that program on the 15th day of November 2003, and Sid and I are standing here very sadly on the 21st day of November after having learned that our dear friend Arto Monaco has left this earth. And we're standing here with a kind of a heavy heart, aren't we, after that great celebration?
I'll underline that. A very sad day. And when you think of the kids that he meant so much to, and the fact that now this generation of kids and the next one will be deprived of experiencing Arto's charming work and everything. And but then many adults, my grown son and daughter, spent many hours over there. I still have pictures of her little girl, 3 years old, sitting on the castle throne, and Brian interested in all the Western stuff. So anyway, it is a sad day for a number of generations.
You know, some of us go through the last few years of our lives wondering if we've done enough to leave any kind of legacy. Here's a man that we never had to wonder about. What we did wonder about, and you and I have talked about it so many times, is how much the man did. His legacy is bigger than all of us combined. You know?
He was so versatile. As a matter of fact, to be very blunt, sometimes I almost resented him. Well, I'll tell you why. Because he was so versatile. Now, I could and did draw a castle. And Ardo drew a castle, but then he went out and built one. I drew an old antique car, and Ardo did too, but then he went out and built one. And he was so versatile. And then he'd sculpt a deer, and and then all his technical drawings and the stuff he did during the war and all that stuff, just very, very versatile. And that's not fair to just ordinary cartoonists. You're not supposed to be able to do anything but draw goofy pictures. But he was, and then as a storyteller, well, anyway, we could go on forever. And you know, I did a comic book one time about some Hollywood characters, and I drew some of those characters. The only trouble is, Ardo knew Charlie Chaplin, Gloria Swanson, had all kinds of tales about Hollywood. Anyway, he was one of a kind.
Calvin and I have considered ourselves fortunate to have met the man. Of course, my big kids, who are now 50 and older, also went to the Land of Make-Believe and enjoyed it. It was just part of what we did. Taking our kids to the Land of Make-Believe. Where do you want to go Saturday? The Land of Make-Believe. And so we did. Every time we talked to the man, and Calvin and I did a number of programs with him, we learned something new about him.
Right.
He was so tremendously humble about his work, and yet, as you said, he was never afraid to venture into the dark and try something new. You'd ask him a question, can you build this? Can you draw this? Can you make this? And his pencil was going on a piece of paper before you could finish the sentence.
That's right.
And so that's what we appreciated so much about him. He was just, you and I, you know, you try to encapsulate the memory of a man in a few words, and in this man you couldn't do it in a few volumes.
That's right.
But you can recall that Arto Monaco had this crusty exterior at times, and yet you mentioned it to me as we just sat talking about him 10 minutes before starting this camera. He was just a bowl of pudding inside, a soft heart for kids, for animals, for senior citizens, for his friends, and it was just obvious to us that he loved just about every minute of his life and everybody who walked into his field of vision, you know?
Yeah, that's right. And I facetiously meant it about you, said about cartoonists resenting him. Actually, as talented as he was, he appreciated other artists, and I know we had many hours talking about, Leon Decker, a guy that is no longer seen much, but did a lot of covers at the same time with Norman Rockwell, and he even one of my good memories is that he seemed to think my stuff was pretty good. So he was.
He did. He admired you so much, and I'm just so happy that you two got to work together.
Yeah, that's something that I looked forward to a long time. I had known his work. We'd been over to Land of Make-Believe for a few years before I even met him. So I'd always wanted to meet him, and I'm so grateful for this comic book project. And then, like you say, that we were there just in the last hours of his being with us, and we have a lot of good memories.
We do. Calvin just purchased something on eBay today, as a matter of fact. We all, huh?
It arrived today, yeah.
It arrived today in the mail. Of course, not knowing that we'd be standing here this afternoon, but you can purchase almost anything, and this is just a little piece of memorabilia. And I've got little packages of things that Ardo, he was so generous with what he had.
Yeah.
You know, so among my prized possessions are things I got from Arto Monaco, and those signed pictures of the various cartoon characters that Sid Cauchi has given me over the years. They're all treasures, but the biggest treasure of all, of course, is the memory of this guy whom we got to sit with and break bread with and drink a cup of coffee. I'll never forget the first time we walked into his office. Gordie, want a cup of coffee? He handed me a cup. It looked like it hadn't been washed since 1903.
He didn't. It was
I'm sure
1901, actually.
it was beautiful.
Yeah.
His shop was, as I said to you, it's a veritable museum along with the old place that used to be the entrance to the land of make-believe. Is just fabulous, full of all the things he's made and designed and thought of. But that shop of his, what a comfortable place with the dogs around your feet and Linda there talking on the phone and trying to set up things. And like you and like me, we'll be doing projects our last day on Earth, which we hope is a long time from now, but he had always had 20 things that he had to get done by next week, you know?
And you couldn't go over there and visit for an hour. I mean, he'd just get started in an hour. And
Sure.
He had more stories. But anyway, isn't it kind of incongruous that having said all these nice things about him, that he should be one of the villains in that story? But
this is the presentation that Calvin made of your drawing, one of the original drawing of the three villains for the comic book. And now Calvin has presented you a copy of it, and it's nice to have that as a little piece of memorabilia, because I was standing there when you exchanged that with him just five days ago, as we're recording this on the 21st of November.
Speaking about being timely, I was so glad that it all happened, one thing after another. But at least villain or hero, he certainly was suave.
He was suave.
Whatever that means. He was, and then this guy, well, we won't say anything more about him.
Yeah, he's a special character. Deserves a special place.
Speaking of incongruity, how about this guy being a villain? Can you imagine that?
No, it's hard for me to imagine this guy as a villain.
Let's not go any further than that.
Sid, I want to thank you for our friendship, and we'll be friendly for a long time to come. I want to thank you for coming up here today so that you and I could add this little chapter onto the life of Arto Monaco. We'd like to thank all of our viewers for learning about the man through the eye of Calvin's hometown cable camera, and I'm sure many of the people watching this program today have the same kinds of memories as we do, except that we're so lucky to have been invited into that inner circle over the last few years of this great man's life.
Yeah. Well, you and Cal led me into that situation. And
we've led you down a lot of paths now that we come to think about it.
I begin to shudder. I anticipate, I should say, what's coming next. Yes.
Sid, thanks so much. Calvin, thanks so much for allowing us to add this on to the end of the program. Thank you all for enjoying the life of Arto Monaco.
My pleasure.